Well, joining us now is Sean Mendes, who's the Africa World's former COO and African aviation expert. Morning to you, Sean. Thank you very much for joining us. What can you tell us about airlines and how they've been affected, please, by the conflict?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yes, it has been quite disruptive for airlines with the current situation in Sudan. As you just mentioned, there was a lot of destruction at Khartoum Airport, with about 15 aircraft confirmed to have been damaged or destroyed right now, including some for foreign airlines. But most critically, from the airline perspective, Sudan's geographic location is such in Africa that a lot of airlines have to fly over Sudan when flying from East Africa to Europe, when flying from the Middle East to West Africa or South America. And that airspace has been closed since the conflict began and is currently notified as being closed until at least 22nd April at midnight. As a result, all airlines who previously flew over Sudan have had to find detours. And, that means flights, say, from Ethiopia to Europe or from Dubai to West Africa are having to either go west, so fly over Saudi Arabia and the Red Sea, which is adding maybe about 10 to 15 minutes flying time, or to go further south, which is around Kenya and Uganda on their way, which adds maybe about 20 minutes to the flying time. So airlines are feeling a bit of a pinch.
Yes, because when they add that flying time, it's obviously costing them more in terms of fuel. Are those prices then going to be passed on to the passengers?
Well, I think in the short term, it's something that airlines will probably absorb. The fuel burn effect on, say, an Airbus 350 for about 10 minutes is about a ton of fuel. So that's about, say, $800 right now at current fuel prices. That's something that airlines can probably bear if it's just for a week or two. If it's something that continues to go on a bit longer, you might see a bit of review, of the actual pricing and the cost to the consumer for it. And of course, the environmental impact also happens in terms of the additional fuel that has to be carried and burned as a result of this.
So when conflicts like this occur, how do you, as the industry and African aviation in particular, how do you then, because we've seen so many conflicts on our continent, how do you as an aviation industry try and help, or what do you do in times like this?
Well, as you mentioned, unfortunately, this has become fairly de rigueur for African airlines. Just looking around Sudan itself, you've got Libya, which has restricted airspace. You have parts of northern Ethiopia and Eritrea, which have warnings. South Sudan has issues. Yemen has issues. So, African airlines and Middle Eastern airlines have become quite used to having to deal with the constantly changing situation. There's regular updates which come through insurers, through operations groups and similar, which ensure that, airlines are up to date with the latest intel as to what's happening, as well as the ability to adjust flight routings and ensure that you're not putting your aircraft crew and passengers into an unsafe situation, whether that is in terms of physical conflict or, degraded air traffic control services or similar.
Thank you very much, Sean, for joining us this morning. Sean Mendes, who's the former CEO of Africa World's and Africa Aviation Industries, an expert there.
Newsday on the BBC